Hi there everyone, and welcome back to Fingers, Fums and Fits. In this first part of a two-parter, I will be painting the Lord Vigilant on Gryph-Stalker, but focusing solely on the Lord Vigilant himself. Can I keep the paint inside the lines? Let's find out. So, I started with a base coat of Chaos Black spray. I then removed the shield so I could more easily paint whatever was behind it. And as I'm going to paint the Lord to match the rest of my Stormcast's cold steel look, I started by painting his armor with Incubi Darkness. This then got a heavy dry brush of Grey Knight Steel. Note, I've moved the shield out of shot, but anything that pertains to the shield whilst I'm painting the armor will also be applied there too. I then washed the armor with Gryph-Charger Grey, which I forgot to photograph, and applied a zenithal dry brush with Stormhost Silver. Moving away from the armor for the moment, any parchments were painted with Baneblade Brown. Before getting a wash of Seraphim Sepia, and a highlight with Rakarth Flesh. I then decided to paint the blade of his axe, which I will show all in one pick here. Firstly, I used Iron Warriors for the base, before stippling and edge highlighting with Stormhost Silver. A wash of Space Wolves Grey was then applied to the blade. I also painted the weapon grip with Mournfang Brown, along with any straps. It was then time to add a bit of bling to his armor as I painted the trim and chainmail with Screaming Bell, along with some additional weapon details, and his medallion and decorative pauldron with Retributor armor, for variation. Before all the brown, bronze and gold areas were washed with Reikland Flesh Shade. And I used Stormhost Silver once more to add a few edge highlights to the trim. Now for the skirting. I started this off with a base of Rhinox hide. And then created a scratchy texture using Mournfang Brown, and Steel Legion drab toward the edges and raised areas. I then returned to Rhinox hide, but thinned it down heavily, so it was the consistency of a glaze. This was then painted over the skirting to tie the textures together. Whilst we're painting cloth, let's address that cloak, starting with Corn Red. That color looked a little washed out to me, so I increased the saturation of the cloak by giving it a coat of Flesh Terror's Red. This also added a little depth. Sigvald Burgundy was used to darken the deepest recesses. Before I applied a highlight of Evil Sun Scarlet. Now, there's only a few elements left to complete. And one of these is the flame on his axe. So I painted that with 2 coats of Corax White. Although whilst I had the Corax White out, I decided to paint the design on the shield. And then painted the gem with Frostheart. Now, back to that flame. I've painted this a few times on these Stormcast, so I won't break it down here, and just let you know that it was painted in the same way as the sword on the Lord Vigilant. A link will be on screen. And I think we can now call the Lord Vigilant complete. But, of course, we're not done yet. Join me next time as I paint the Gryph-Stalker. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.